What is up, my friends? It's me, your host, Derek Jackman, coming at you with another podcast, specifically part 2 of a podcast that I had done a couple weeks ago with the one and only Total Drama Ricky. Now, before I introduce who I brought in as a guest this week, I need to let you know that Ricky is not going to be joining us. He's going to be absent because of his request to leave the Total Drama community and start anew. His new channel is called Regular Ricky. I implore you to go over and subscribe to his channel because he is the man and he's moving on to bigger and better things. Also, before I introduce who I brought with me today, I also want to emphasize this one thing. I know that a lot of you guys liked the podcast last week and you want me to do more videos where I talk about rewriting the Total Drama universe. I need to specifically focus on this detail. I am not a Total Drama YouTuber. I am specifically just going to focus on this season, which is season 2, and then I'm going to move on to other things that I would change in pop culture. So welcome to How I Would Change It, where we talk about pop culture and different things that we would change in this specific realm of entertainment. Today we are going to be focusing on Total Drama Action, and I brought with me an expert in the Total Drama universe, also known as Cove. Cove, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that introduction. Sorry I'm no Ricky, but thanks for having me on.
I mean, we can't compare anyone to anyone, dude. You got your own swagger. Ricky's got his own swagger. I'm just really glad to have you today, man.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. Glad to talk about this show that never leaves.
That never freaking leaves. Now, Cove and I, we're going to specifically dissect the second half of Total Drama Action. If you have not watched the first part of this podcast, I implore you to go over, check it out, because we talk about the pre-merge status of the season, but we should get into a recap of what kind of happened, the meaty parts of it, and the important parts. Before I dive into kind of what previously I talked about, Cove, you got to see the podcast, right? The one before the part 1, essentially.
Yes, I watched the entire thing.
Oh, dang, dude.
Big fan.
Oh, well, thank you. What were some things that stuck out to you that made you want to join me today? Some things that you were like, oh, that's a little bit different, but I can respect that. Or some things that you disagreed with. I'd love to hear it.
So, I really have no sense when it comes to your opinions in this show, which is something that is very intriguing to me because I feel like I've been around the fandom for a long time. So I kind of have a general understanding of most opinions or most feelings from a lot of people, but you're somewhat new, I guess, to the realm. So I really have not been able to dissect your opinions much, and then you go and hit us with the bombshells that you did the first podcast. I'm like, whoa, you've got some different feelings regarding these characters. So I'm like, it was just very interesting, and the thing that caught me, without spoiling the first part too much, I guess, was some like the small details that you have or you plan, like Trent choosing Heather for his team, despite Gwen. You know how like Gwen spited Trent with Duncan. And to me, those are things that like I never would have thought about, but the fact that your brain thinks about those things and how they can unravel long term was really cool to me. So I'm ready to pick your brain and see how you would have changed the season, because so far it's vastly different than what most people would do.
Well, I appreciate that so much, dude. And it was super fun. It was one of my first videos that I released as kind of like a live release, and so I was getting comments and I was reading the comments as they were kind of coming in, and
right.
it was really kind of neat to interact with people at that time. Now, before we dive into this, of course, this story is kind of like a fan fiction, How I Would Change It, but to emphasize this specific detail, this is just an opinion, and Cove knows this just as much as I do, but to anybody who disagrees with it, that is totally cool. If you have different opinions, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. Like I said, this is just my perspective on what would have worked better as a storyline for total drama action if you wanted to kind of stretch out some of that drama and create a different storyline in and of itself.
Beautiful.
I was waiting for you to comment. Just as a recap, there are 4 specific things that I do want to just like recap really quick. You nailed one of them already, which was Trent choosing Heather. I think that was kind of a pivotal decision that could have dictated a change in the story as far as teams are concerned. The 4th one is the Trent and Gwen split with the romantic episode. I don't know if you remember me talking to Ricky about that one, but essentially where like they're supposed to go and perform on stage and we have Trent and Heather versus Gwen and Duncan, and that creates this organic divergence. What were your thoughts on that episode? Oh, loved it. Okay. Oh,
all right, I said it too early. But no, I that just again plays into the whole thing of you thinking about all these things, all these small details that I never would have thought about. I loved. I think it was very organic. You know, we always talk about how derailed Trent was this season, and I guess that's really the whole point, because you know you love Trent and you saw the potential in him, right? And this derailment really shoved away that potential. So to see you come up with all these things that actually make sense, because like the number 9 thing came really out of nowhere, right? But like this piggybacking off of everything that happened in Island, with the whole Trent, Heather, Gwen debacle thing, and how it's moving over into season 2. I think that was really smart and really good play, you know, to provide more drama that actually felt like it could have happened, you know.
Well, I appreciate that. I do think there were a lot of characters that were derailed in this season, you know, like obviously one of the biggest ones was Trent, but we also had Jeff and Bridget. They had a huge derailment in this season. We had DJ, his was a huge derailment in the season, not necessarily for being like a saboteur. I actually think that was kind of a cool concept and idea, but the motive behind it kind of betrayed his character. And then him quitting the game was also really cliche. So I would love to get into that, but someone else, and this brings me to my 3rd recap point or bulleted point, is Justin was also kind of derailed halfway through this season when he had a lot of potential to be an antagonist, more of a seductive antagonist, of course. But that's someone I would love to kind of dive deeper into in the second part of this series. But as a 4th bulleted point, I just want to rehash who was eliminated. So the first 5 eliminations that I had was number 1, we had Izzy. Number 2, we had Harold. Number 3, we had Lashana. Number 4, we had Beth. And then 5th, before the merge, we had Owen. And Owen had his time to shine in season 1, and I wouldn't change anything from season 1. I think it was a great precursor and great opening to what could have been an amazing series, and it is an amazing series in and of itself. But with this rewrite, there are just some things that obviously I would have preferred to see. So one thing that I had Cove do is I had him create an elimination prediction. And I would love for you to hold on to that, because
alrighty.
I want to talk about an episode that I wrote before we jump into your elimination predictions, because
sounds good to me.
I do have a character who debuts in this merge episode, and this episode juxtaposes one of the episodes that we saw in the last season, which is the Brunch of Disgustingness. So this would be the Brunch of Disgustingness Part 2, and it would essentially it would parody Fear Factor, where they have kind of that gross food challenge in every single episode of Fear Factor. And so that's kind of the one that this one would essentially parody. But if you don't mind, I would love to read that out to you. It is a little hefty. I do have heftier descriptions on these episodes. And then I would love to hear what your thoughts are after that, and then we can get into your elimination predictions. How does that sound?
Sounds great, my friend. Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right. So, as we present the episode, we are introduced to the remaining 9 cast members on an early morning as the sun rises. Trent and Gwen are the first to exit their trailers. They make awkward eye contact but hastily turn away in silence. So you get a little bit of that tension to kind of introduce this new episode and to introduce the merge. And this kind of juxtaposes what's going to happen in the episode. You know, you see the divergence between Trent and Gwen, but that juxtaposes the divergence between the men and the women in this episode. So they're unsure how to interact with each other. Neither of them is filled with disdain. Rather, they are filled with confusion and heartbreak, which foreshadows the theme. Chris zooms in by helicopter, which wakes up the remaining contestants. Each character steps out of their trailer to be acquainted by their sinister host. After Chris's spectacle, he introduces the familiar challenge. 8 of the 9 contestants remember the trauma of this challenge. Chris instructs them to meet him at the cafeteria in 30 minutes. So, of course, last season, 8 of these 9 contestants were there. So,
Right.
and realistically, I feel like this is what would happen because in the last season, you had these people make it to the end. And I feel like they kind of, you know, if they made it to the end in the last season and they're recast for another season, realistically, and we see this in Big Brother, which I know you're no stranger to, these people would team up and kind of make it to the end again. Like it's kind of a repetitive strategy that typically happens.
Right.
But one thing that it also does is it establishes more iconic characters. Obviously, throughout the seasons, we see Duncan and Gwen and Heather and Courtney become the icons of the show. But I don't see, you know, any reason why Jeff and Bridget and DJ shouldn't be, you know, consistent icons of the show either. So I think this just kind of reiterates the strength of other characters as well, beyond just Duncan and Gwen and Courtney and Heather. And so that's kind of a way to boost some of the characters, is to continue to emphasize them and to kind of bring them up as protagonists. But I digress. The guys huddle together with confidence. Duncan gives them a pep talk, as he would, on how he'll beat the living crap out of whoever doesn't step up. Trent jabs back at Duncan, stating, "How are we supposed to take advice from a guy afraid of Celine Dion music store standees?" Just like bringing that jab back, right?
Love it.
Duncan and Trent are about to get in kind of like a scuffle, but Jeff steps in, because we know Jeff needs to play more to his character as he was in season 1. He was a peacekeeper, he was the bro, he was the homie. So he steps in and he tells everyone to kind of just relax, because they have their secret weapon, right? But as we know, Jeff is kind of an airhead, so he turns around, points, and says, "Owen," only to point at Justin.
I love it. Oh my God, I love it.
Which, you know, Justin comedically smiles because the cameras are now on him, which is just kind of like a little of a comedic gag. And then DJ, he just like squints his eyes, and Jeff like transitions his hand to like from pointing to like scratch his head in embarrassment. And they all realize
sad how I can see this so easily.
It's like a visual representation. And so they all realize that they're kind of screwed, because Owen is not there to carry them like he did last year. Instead, they have Justin.
Probably not the guy you want.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of sabotaging the game, but nobody else knows that. And then to kind of like jump to the other end, you know, the girls are not too confident of themselves either. Gwen and Heather combat each other with their words, and Bridget plays the peacekeeper for the girls, which is like, there's so much juxtaposition in this season. Yep. Yeah. And so like Bridget's kind of playing Jeff's role, but for the females. But Heather replies this may be the only time she wishes Lashana was still there. And, you know, there's only 4 girls against 5 guys. So this is kind of, the girls are at a disadvantage here. Now the remaining 9 contestants arrive to the arts and crafts cafeteria tent. The boys and girls sit down at opposing tables. Chef smirks as he glares at the cast, just like sinisterly. A girly figure approaches Duncan from behind and places a platter down in front of him. Duncan states with hesitation, "Bring it on." A familiar feminine voice says, "I hope you're ready for the first platter." She lifts it to reveal an old dish, which is beef balls. You know, like the dish that we had from season 1. Duncan recognizes the voice because it's Courtney, and he reacts by shrieking / curling his legs into his chest. Now, this just shows how much, and it's a little bit of a symbolism here. It's symbolic. Courtney has Duncan by the balls, you know? And so this right here is just that symbolism for it, right? Chris makes an official announcement. Courtney will return to the game and will accompany the girls' team for this challenge. Throughout the episode, the girls are treated to gourmet food, but the boys are given nasty concoctions. The girls win, which results in them getting a luxury cruise trip. No one is eliminated in this episode. The only thing that happens is girls win a challenge and Courtney returns to the game. So what are your thoughts of that description of that episode?
So season 1, the guys won, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I like the 1-1 split now. I think that's such like Courtney's debut in action in canon was such an iconic debut. You know, just when she turns around from the bank teller or whatever she was doing. So this kind of feels even more iconic in a way because of, like you were saying, the juxtaposition and like just the nostalgia that it brings and the images, the imagery, you know. So I like that. I like that a lot. I also imagine that they're getting gourmet stuff because of her lawyers, and you know that's the whole reason why they won. Which, you know, can't go wrong with that. So that's good. I can imagine, and this goes into my prediction, which I guess we'll get to later, but I kind of imagine Justin, I'm just trying to think of what Justin would do in this episode, and my mind goes to how he doesn't like the peacekeeping going on. And so I would imagine that, you know, because Jeff was trying to keep the peace, that's his first target. But that, yeah, I really like that episode. I really like the throwback. I like the callback. I just love the images in my head in the beginning of the episode with all the comedic moments. But yeah, that was good. I like that a lot, and I'm very excited to get into the meat of this season.
Heck yeah, dude! I'm excited to hear your elimination prediction. Now, of course, as we progress forward, there are going to be things that maybe you like, and then there are going to be some things that you're like, that's weird. So don't hesitate to give me pushback. Cove and I, we go way back to the Among Us days when we played Among Us with the reunion cast. So
yes, sir. Even though I was not a part of the cast.
Well, we brought you in because you're special, man, and special in a good way.
Thank you so much.
Yep. So bringing the mic in now. Clink. All right, Cove. So I had Cove prepare this list. We're in the final 10. Let me reiterate who's in the final 10. We have, for the boys, we have Duncan, Jeff, Justin, Trent, and DJ. And for the girls, we have Gwen, Lindsay, Bridget, Heather, and Courtney. That's our final 10. That's our merge. Now I'd love to hear your predictions, so I will turn the time over to you.
So do you want the entire thing or just the next episode?
Yeah, let's go episode by episode. Let's hear, if you have motives too, feel free to throw those out. Just whatever you felt inspired to add. And then we'll see how true that is. See if you got any of the selections correct.
All right. So I have a lot of notes written. I'm just reading on my phone right now because, as you were kind of prefacing earlier, 8 out of these 10 people merged an island, right? So it's kind of it's difficult because in canon action, you know, Beth, Lashana, Harold, and Owen are here instead of, you know, no one ever has Jeff, Bridget, DJ, or Trent, or Gwen merging in action, right? So like, it's very hard to just kind of like hypothesize like what is he going to do with them.
Yeah,
and I told you this as well. Bridget, Jeff, and DJ are my 3 biggest wild cards in this entire elimination order because I really genuinely don't know what you're going to do with them. With that being said, my 10th prediction for 10th place is going to be Jeff, which I kind of alluded to a couple moments ago. And that is going to be because I just don't know what else he would do. To be quite frank, I don't know what else he's going to do. It's very hard to gauge some of these people because, like I said, a lot of them are never visualized in merge and action seasons. So I'm going with Jeff. I'm going with that Justin sabotaged him, or the boys, whatever, just because he doesn't like that he's trying to keep the peace when Duncan and Trent, you know, button heads. So Jeff's my 10. The next 3 I'm very, very iffy on.
Well, I'm ready for it.
I feel good about like the final 5, but 10 through 6, I'm just like, what? But okay, so 9th I have Heather. I feel like you're gonna keep Heather. I can't see her going any farther than that. I just don't. I think that's her canon placement too. But I feel like there's enough there, or enough still going on to justify Heather getting 9th. And then following her, I have Gwen, because I'm not really sure if you care, because I'm guessing you don't based on your previous comments about wanting similar merges, but I don't really know if you care about screen time equalizing, which I know is a huge complaint in the fandom. So I don't care personally. So I'm glad to see that I don't think you care either. With that being said, I still put Heather and Gwen because they finished 3rd and 2nd or 1st, whatever, last season. I put them next because I feel like you really want to bring justice to DJ, Bridget, Justin, and Trent, mostly in this season. So I have them going out back to back. And then I don't want to spoil anything for whenever we get to that point, but you also said no DJ chef plot. So I'm thinking, okay, if he's not gonna quit, and he's not gonna have this illegal alliance, I don't know what he's gonna do. So I just felt like 7th kind of fit DJ. After him, I have Bridget 6th. Really, no rhyme or reason. Just I felt like she was the least justified going any farther. After that, I have Justin in 5th. Because you told me that Trent, Justin, DJ, and Lindsay were the 4 you felt were botched the most in action. So I kind of took that and I'm like, okay, I'll throw most of those in the final 5, right? Because you want Justin to play more of an antagonist role, which he should have been doing, and kind of how he was until Courtney came and made him a comedic side character for no reason.
Yep.
I kind of feel like you want to give Justin a better run, and even though it's just 2 more placements better than it was in canon, I feel like there's just so much going on with the final 4 that it feels safe to give Justin 5th. And then I really, I don't know what to even like assume with this final 4. I feel like you're going to do the double elimination 4 and 3, so I just gave that to Duncan and Courtney, and then I gave Trent and Lindsay 1st and 2nd. So that's kind of, I don't know how far your Trent bias is going to take you. That's really my main That's my main question: is how far is the Trent potential going to get him? How much do you really love Trent? You know, so I can see him. I can see you pushing a finale for him. I don't know. That's what I got. I'm not very confident in it, but that's my prediction based on what you told me.
You might have got some things right.
Oh yeah.
But you know, there are some vast differences for sure. But
I'm sure. Yeah.
With most of these eliminations, I do it to a point where it makes sense, and I emphasize this in the first one. I wrote it as if it was a love note to season 1. And so the finale is definitely, especially the final 3 and the final 4, and maybe even the final 5, it is that love note. It is that way where it juxtaposes what happens in season 1. So let's get into that, and let's see how far your predictions go as far as being accurate. How do you feel about that?
I'm scared what this is gonna mean. I'm scared.
Well, the next episode is the zombie challenge. And that's kind of where I left us off in the last podcast. Was I said, hey, we're gonna dive into a zombie challenge, because that's a genre that they never really dove into it. They referenced it
completely missed.
Yeah, but what, like, that's a perfect opportunity, you know? So let me read off to you what I have for the zombie challenge. This is probably, this is the longest episode I have written. So I apologize if I ramble.
I'm ready. I got my popcorn.
Heck yeah. It's a zombie challenge, and then there's another episode that's kind of long, and then it gets to shorter descriptions. So, zombies raid...
Lots of stuff happening.
Oh yeah. Zombies raid the entire set. All the contestants are challenged to survive the wave of zombies. The last man/woman standing wins invincibility. Courtney is suspicious of Gwen/Duncan, so she makes it a goal to get Gwen evicted. So that's her goal in the episode, is just to like hound on Duncan and Gwen the entire time, right? DJ is the first to be taken out by the zombies. The contestants split into groups. Justin, Lindsay, and Heather get into a trailer and barricade the entrances. So I actually have like a full-fledged, like, I got inspired by the zombie one, so I apologize. Jeff and Bridget hop into an RV. Gwen, Trent, Duncan, and Courtney get onto the top of a water tower. Trent reveals that he was bitten and was given a time constraint to quote-unquote live in this episode. Heather finds walkie-talkies and gets a hold of Bridget through the walkie-talkie. Jeff sees Duncan at the top of the water tower, which is surrounded by zombies. They devise a plan to help them. So there's a little bit of like scrambling in this episode. Courtney chastises Duncan for his behavior with Gwen, his basic flirtatious behavior, essentially. You know, let's jump away from that. Of course, that's kind of like an important plot device here, is that like Courtney's just hounding Gwen and Duncan. But meanwhile, while this is happening, Jeff drives up to the side of the water tower, kind of rescues them. Duncan, Gwen, Trent, and Courtney begin to climb down. Zombies approach the RV. Trent makes the sacrifice to lead the zombies away. So I do want to play into this love square. I hate the love triangle so freaking much. I hate it.
Who doesn't?
But I do think it's a little bit more fascinating when you add Trent into the mix.
I can agree with that, yeah.
So the love square, it gives hope to all of them because it's this equal, you know, parallel thing. Jeff, Bridget, Duncan, Gwen, and Courtney reach the trailer where Heather, Justin, and Lindsay are, so we're kind of uniting the cast. Courtney continues to hound Duncan for his behavior with Gwen, so that's really important. If I've emphasized it a lot, it just happens, you know, and it does kind of resemble what happens in season 2. She definitely does this to Duncan already, right. You know? Zombies begin to break through the barricades. Bridget is pulled through a window. Goodbye, Bridget. You know, you're a goner in this episode. Jeff tries saving her, but Duncan pulls him away. So, like, I just feel like we need to get more interaction. You didn't really get these key characters to interact as much as I wish you did. And so, like, I love the fact that, you know, Jeff is still homies with Duncan, and Jeff still cares about Bridget. So you have this cool dichotomy between these characters that, you know, they really care for each other, and they do want each other to succeed. But at the same time, they're still here for number one. But suddenly, a hand emerges from below the floorboards and grabs a hold of Justin. So, goodbye, Justin. Justin is pulled through the trailer, goner. Gwen realizes that they need to get out of here. Gwen, Courtney, and Duncan open the ceiling window to get to the roof of the trailer. So we got, you know, these three still kind of pulling in strong. But as they are doing so, Duncan is scratched. He's scratched.
Dun, dun.
Lindsay and Heather are engulfed by zombies. Jeff slides through the hole at the bottom of the trailer where Justin was pulled in. So, you know, it's assumed that he kind of makes it out under the trailer. Courtney confronts Gwen as they're on top of the trailer. As Gwen is distracted, zombie chef snags Gwen to pull her into the horde. Goodbye, Gwen. Let's go, Duncan and Courtney. Let's freaking go, right? Jeff suddenly pulls up the RV to the back of the trailer, and he rescues Courtney and Duncan, so they hastily get into the trailer. And so, you know, they're reunited. Now we got our final three survivors. We got Jeff, Duncan, and Courtney. Courtney betrays Jeff by opening his door to a horde. Goodbye, Jeff.
I love it.
Courtney and Duncan make it to the roof of the RV because now zombies are like making themselves into the RV. Duncan thinks that what she did was totally uncool. Like, Jeff is his homie, man. Courtney expresses a lack of empathy. Courtney just wants to win, man. And she wants her man as well. So Duncan is suddenly, you know, eliminated in the zombie game just because he had a scratch mark and that his life was basically a ticking time bomb. So that means that Courtney is officially the winner of this specific episode. Now here's where things get a little bit juicy. And I'm gonna use this word a lot in this podcast. We're gonna see some juxtaposition here again. Courtney is granted immunity. She pushes for Duncan to join her in eliminating Gwen. Duncan doesn't want to do it, but Courtney gives him an ultimatum. It's either me or her, you know? Duncan looks at the bros for advice. So he goes to DJ and Jeff. You know, the Bros Alliance, the Guys Alliance from season 1. You know, we gotta... Where did that go? Whatever happened to that, right?
Disappeared.
It just it dissipated into nothingness. And it's funny too because, well, actually, I'll get into this. Sorry, I had a thought that I'll describe in the future. Jeff suggests that keeping Gwen is not good for Duncan's game. And you know, that kind of hurts Jeff because Jeff and Gwen are still on good terms, but Jeff's on good terms with everyone. Duncan is appalled by this advice from his so-called Guys Alliance, but DJ reminds Duncan that last season he had Jeff eliminate Bridget for the Guys Alliance. So Duncan has no place to argue because last season he had Jeff take out his girlfriend. So, like, this kind of gives reason to say, you know, Gwen is hindering your game. We got to get rid of her. So, in the elimination ceremony, Gwen is voted out by Courtney, DJ, Jeff, Bridget, and Heather. Duncan did not vote her out, neither did Trent. The episode ends with Courtney's confessional where she talks about how when she says someone is going down, they go down. And I'm pretty sure that's a quote from the first season.
Dang, dude.
So I think that's what she says to Sadie, at least in season 1. So a lot of juxtaposition there. Thoughts?
I have like 800 thoughts.
Oh, 800! Let's go!
First of all, it's kind of crazy how I can literally, even though this episode does not exist, I can picture it so clearly in my mind of just like the zombie horde attacking the trailer and just like all these interactions happening. So there's that. I love the throwbacks and the callbacks to the first season, which I think is something that they did not do well at all. You're doing a very good job with that.
Thank you.
I'm not surprised Gwen left. I really thought I didn't know how far she was really going to go, so I wasn't that far off. I guessed 8th, so that's not bad.
You're close.
But it made a lot of sense. I am concerned so far that Courtney is still going to be taking over the antagonist role, and Justin seemed to be not there. But I guess that's just due to how you described the episode. I'm sure he was relevant, but that's my only concern with that. But otherwise, that makes complete sense. I feel like 10th is good for Gwen. I really love the interactions with the guys, the Alliance. Yeah, I mean, solid all around episode. Everything made sense. Love the interactions. Yeah, nothing else to say. Beautiful.
Thank you. I think personally, I would have loved to have seen Gwen go before Trent, because one thing that a lot of people have against Trent is, well, there was no development for Trent. He never got to mold into his own character. His character was always reliant on what Gwen was doing.
Right.
And I think Trent deserves to be his own character. He deserves to mold into the man that he should be, not just some lover boy, you know? And that's who he is. He's a hopeless romantic. But
right.
He's also a musician who wants to open up his own, I think it's motorcycle shop or something like that. Like, he has a lot of potential to have substance. And so I think getting rid of Gwen gives him the opportunity to progress into his own character. And that's where I get my breath of fresh air. So Trent could go at any time. I promise that it's not my bias that is dragging him along in the game.
No, I know.
It's the potential that I see in him. So, yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that. Let's dive into the next episode, why don't we?
I'm excited.
The bank heist episode. I'll read it aloud. This one's a little bit shorter. So, the final 9 contestants are challenged to rob a bank. Courtney continues to push Duncan away, which gets on everyone's nerves. Duncan teams up with Heather because he's just getting sick and tired of Courtney. So Courtney's not necessarily jumping in as the antagonist to the cast, as much as she is just jumping in to be a nuisance to Duncan's character arc. DJ is immediately caught, so he's the first one caught, but he's brought to Chef. Now, I did mention how I didn't like the DJ Chef arc, and that's because I didn't like the way that it was presented to us. Honestly, the motives didn't make sense in the original season. And like the guilt that DJ feels, it kind of makes sense. But the way that it was played off, I felt like didn't make sense. So I wrote it a little bit differently, but I do love the saboteur idea. So, you know, and I want your honest opinion on it. If you hate it, let me know. Chef,
I'll let you know.
Chef intimidates DJ as DJ is tied to a chair. He got captured, right? Chef tries extracting info from DJ, trying to figure out where Jeff and Bridget are. DJ's kind of confused. Chef is testing him, and DJ knows it. DJ refused to give him the information of where his friend's location is. The entire meeting is secretly useless because Chef knows where Jeff and Bridget are. He's just trying to find a crack in the system. He's trying to manipulate DJ a little bit, right? Chef asks DJ if he feels like they truly have his best interest in mind. DJ confidently believes that they do. Chef turns a TV monitor on, showing DJ a video of Jeff and Bridget making out in a bank vault. Chef states, "Doesn't look like they need you to me, you know?" DJ smirks and responds, "I helped make that happen." So this kind of just like turns on Chef. Like, I'm the reason that those two are together. Heck, I helped make that happen, right? Chef whispers to himself, "I didn't want to have to do this." So Chef switches the monitor screen to a picture of Bunny. Bunny from season 1. DJ asks, "What is this?" Chef deviously smiles. Transition. Right? Transition back to the cast. So we don't really know what happens at first. And, you know, like, obviously I already told you that I like the idea of DJ being a saboteur. But I also love the idea of not revealing that to the audience immediately. So, like in this scene, it's essentially, what's the word I'm looking for? Elicited? No, it's insinuated. I think that's the word. Implied that Chef needs DJ for a specific reason. But the saboteur thing at this moment in time is completely foreign to the audience. So I wouldn't just straight out write it out for the audience. I would unfold it over time. And that's why I transition away from the conversation to Trent, Lindsay, and Justin and their situation. And their essential situation is they just get locked in a bank vault by Courtney, because Courtney is the freaking worst. She leaves them all in the vault to lose, and there's nothing they can do because Jeff and Bridget, they're too busy making out. Duncan has a feud with Trent, so he's not going to let him out. And DJ is busy with Chef. So, yeah. And Heather's working with Duncan. So there's no one's going to open that vault for them. So they're basically screwed. So they're forced to wait, which could be the first moments where we see a little bit of a bond between Trent and Justin. Obviously, I do want Justin to be an antagonist, but I also don't want to just dehumanize him. And this is kind of a great moment to foreshadow the Drama Brothers, because where the freak did that come from in the original season? Like, the Drama Brothers, these people who never interacted with each other beyond Trent and Cody in one scene.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that could be like some cool foreshadowment of that. Now let's jump over to Courtney. She's attempting to raid a vault alone, realizing that she just can't do it. Especially not in the time that Duncan and Heather can. So Duncan and Heather return victorious because teamwork, right? Granting them immunity. However, you know, at the ending of the episode, like, Courtney just continues to nag on Duncan. She's just piling into him, man. And everyone is kind of reunited at the end and witnesses the atrocity that is Courtney, you know, just nagging and bagging and just freaking crabbing on Duncan. And, you know, the truth is that Courtney's just hurt. And I think we need to show some vulnerability there too, because she knew that Duncan was kind of forming some chemistry with Gwen. And I think it would be nice to show some tender moments where Courtney, like, was in the bank vault earlier. We get a little bit of a flashback where she's kind of just distraught about the situation. But she expresses it maliciously, so it doesn't excuse how she's reacting. And this leads Duncan to just explode on Courtney at the ending of the episode. And he does reveal his feelings for Gwen. He's like, I'm done with this. I have feelings for Gwen. We're over, right? And he self-evicts. He won the challenge. There was no reason for him to do this, but, you know, I think this is a great way for Duncan to go out. He is done with the whole thing. He's done with the game. He's done with Courtney. And he's just done with the insanity. He self-evicts, which is what he does in season 3. Now, obviously, it's expected that season 3 would get a rewrite if this was rewritten. So Duncan self-evicts in this season, except for replacing what he would have done in season 3. So instead of season 3 him self-evicting, he just self-evicts here, which I think is a more honorable way for him to go. Thoughts?
Wow. I am so torn. On one hand, I'm like, what? But on the other hand, I'm like, huh, you know? Like, first of all, my prediction way off. Second of all, I don't hate it. And the reason I don't hate it is because it's in character for him. And like you said, it happens the following season, 1 episode in, right? Or 2 episodes in. So
yep.
It's not like it's out of character for Duncan. It makes a lot of sense. I'm very shocked. I definitely did think you were going to have him go farther. I really did think. I wasn't at first. I thought you were about to say Courtney goes home, and I'm like, wow, he just did that. But this actually makes more sense. I am a little shocked though, because I wasn't thinking that 2 of the 4 Love Square people were gonna go right out the gate. That's why I had Jeff and Heather first in my merge, because I thought there was more to explore with the 4 of them all being there. Well, I guess 5 if you want to include Heather in this, but
well, she's just a friend. She's just a friend.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really like the concept of challenge. I like the concept of Duncan being safe, but then still leaving because he's just had enough of Courtney. And I do like how you explained why Courtney was acting the way she was, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand that about her in canon. Like, she's not purposely trying to be a bad person. She's just hurt. She has always been hurt by Duncan in season 2 and 3, whenever it was. So yeah, like I nothing really bad to say. I was just shocked. Really, I was just shocked. And I also like how you handled DJ's thing. I think Bunny is is a very funny way, rhyme intended, to go about that. I'm excited to see what happens with him. Going off of my prediction, I had Gwen next, so that's obviously wrong. So if I had to make a new one, I still don't know what Jeff and Bridget are doing, so I'm gonna go with one of them still.
Yeah. I think you'll be shocked in the next episode. But
oh, Lord.
That's one thing, is like, a lot of people think that I don't like Duncan. I do like Duncan. I just me personally, I don't think he's final 2 quality for me.
You're not alone in that thought either. A lot of people think that he's a finalist worthy, just not in action.
Yep.
And I definitely can agree with that. I normally tend to keep him in my action finale just because I like Duncan, but I agree. And unless you're going to throw Lindsay out the door next episode, I have no idea what you're doing. That's going to surprise me. So
yeah,
I'm curious.
We'll see where we go. I do love the idea of, because Duncan is his own man. He is a champion, man. Like you said, I love the idea of having him win a challenge and then him just, on his own terms, he leaves. It's his terms, right. He's done. So
Duncan does what Duncan wants to do.
Exactly. It's an honorable ending. Good job, Duncan. Good job.
Which is fair enough.
Yep. So now we got the final 8. We got Justin, Lindsay, Jeff, Bridget, Trent, Heather, DJ, and Courtney. So this is by far my favorite episode. It is the second longest one I've written under the zombie one. But I really like this one because it focuses on Bridget a lot more.
Okay. I take back what I said about her being eliminated.
Well, she could be. She could be, like, you got to focus on a character before you eliminate them. So we'll see what happens.
I'm all in.
Bridget wakes up. So the episode immediately starts off with Bridget waking up to a lump under her covers in her bed. Okay? So it's nighttime. Everybody's getting ready to sleep. Bridget went to bed a little bit early. She wakes up, there's a lump under her bed. This would reference The Godfather. I don't know if you know much about The Godfather, but the guy wakes up with like a horse in his bed.
I haven't seen it, but oh boy.
Yep. And so she lifts up her sheets to reveal the clay picture / piggy bank that Jeff made her in season 1. Oh, the references. Oh, it's so cute. She's relieved that it's just a cute item, but startled when she looks at the picture that's within it. It is a picture of the entire cast of season 1, but every member's picture is scratched out except for the people remaining in the game. So all of the season 1 contestants, their faces are just like scratched out. X's, circles, everything, except for Jeff, Bridget, Trent, Heather, Justin, Courtney, DJ, and Lindsay. All of them have circles around their faces, which is kind of like, it's like, these are the targets now. And this is definitely a new picture. It wasn't in her clay piggy bank picture frame before, you know? So she flips the clay item over to reveal writing on the back stating, "You're next," which references like every horror movie to ever exist in the face of humanity.
Yeah.
So the episode essentially would follow Bridget as she's assumed to be the protagonist final girl. Because in a slasher film, you got a final girl. Like, that's how it works. There's always the final girl. And trust me when I say horror films are my niche, so I love horror films. So this is by far my favorite episode. As Lindsay is freshening up and getting ready for bed, she is startled by the Psycho with a chainsaw and a hook. Let's bring him back.
Love these throwbacks. Love these throwbacks.
She shrieks, which wakes up the guys. DJ is scared. So they're in their trailer. The guys are in the trailer. Lindsay was off, you know, doing her thing in the bathroom, right? But she shrieks loud enough to where it wakes up the guys in their trailer, right? DJ is scared. Trent and Jeff, they, you know, assume the masculine man part of the horror movie cliches, and they go to check out the noise. They enter an empty bathroom. They swore they heard Lindsay scream, and as they leave the bathroom, they are met by the girls. Heather claims that Lindsay takes a little bit longer than everyone else to retire to sleep because she has her whole regiment before she goes to bed, which means that something happened to her. So all 5 of them converse. So you got Courtney, Heather, Bridget, Trent, and Jeff. They're all conversing right now, and they're trying to figure out what the freak happened to Lindsay. Where is she? Why did she shriek? What's going on right now? Is this a challenge, right? And as they're conversing, they are startled by a sudden scream made by DJ. So DJ starts screaming from the trailer, and so they rush over to the guy's trailer, only to find that DJ is hiding under his blanket. They ask him where Justin is, and DJ claims that he was taken by the Psycho. Courtney puts her foot down, and she demands that everyone follows her to the arts and crafts tent, you know, assuming the leadership role. The same role that Gwen took in season 1. Another interesting juxtaposition here. As they enter the tent, DJ tries splitting Bridget and Jeff up, which seems kind of odd, right? That's out of his character. But, you know, we highlight that a little bit. Courtney tries teaching the remaining survivors about horror films, which she knows nothing about. Trent adds his advice from watching horror films over the summer with Gwen, but Courtney just shuts him down. Like, no, everyone's gonna listen to me. I don't care what you have to say, Trent. Like, everyone's just gonna listen to me. But seems like Trent is kind of the educated one, and Courtney's just like, nope, everyone's gonna listen to me. So, too bad. Courtney.
Classic Courtney.
Yep. Courtney claims that they need supplies and to protect themselves. So she delegates everyone to retrieve items. Trent claims that this is the worst thing for them to do, which is to split the group. But Courtney ignores him. Too bad. Jeff and Bridget are to go get the food from Chris's tent, and Jeff and Heather are tasked to get the cots from the trailers. So they're gonna move all of their beds into the trailers, and Jeff and Bridget, they're tasked to go get the food so that they can survive, you know? DJ advocates that the cots are heavier and would prefer to have Jeff come with him over Heather. Courtney totally agrees, which strangely separates Bridget and Jeff again. Like, what's the deal? Why is DJ trying to split Jeff and Bridget this entire time? What's going on, right? As Heather and Bridget retrieve the food, they are ambushed by the Psycho, and he takes Heather. Goodbye, Heather. Bridget runs for her life and calls out for help. Jeff comes to her aid, which DJ tries to convince him not to do. Strange again. Jeff comes to save her, but is taken out by a trap set by the Psycho. Bridget wants to help, but DJ comes in and convinces her otherwise as the Psycho approaches them to retrieve Jeff. Now, DJ, like a way that DJ could persuade Bridget into not saving Jeff is, he made this sacrifice for you, do you want his sacrifice to be in vain? Let's get out of here. So it's kind of like that archetype that you see on every horror film where the boyfriend sacrifices himself for the girlfriend. So there's that. The four survivors are reunited. Bridget is upset with DJ for segregating her and her boyfriend. So she's kind of just like chewing DJ out. Like she knows something's up. Like, what the heck, DJ? What are you doing? She expresses frustration with him. What is going on? Suddenly, the Psycho attacks and takes Courtney. Out of nowhere, just boom, attack. Courtney, gone.
Yeah, that was nowhere, okay.
That was, yeah, out of nowhere. You know, suddenly when you think everything's calm, everything's fine, boom, Courtney, gone. DJ, Trent, and Bridget flee to the woods. They devise a plan to capture the Psycho killer. DJ feels guilty, so he offers himself up as bait. DJ is eliminated, not in the game. I mean, just
right.
in the challenge.
Yeah.
But Trent and Bridget, they capture the Psycho killer, and they win immunity. So Trent and Bridget win immunity. The bottom two contestants to be picked for elimination, so it comes down to these two, is Jeff and Courtney. So I know this kind of like might be a shocker to you. But the reason that they're down in the final two to be eliminated is because DJ kept segregating, you know, Jeff and Bridget. Whereas Courtney just kept exerting her bossiness, you know, her attitude was just sour, and she split the groups, which was a poor decision. But also, people are frustrated with Courtney based on what she did to Gwen and Duncan. So, it comes down to these two. And based on how she treated Gwen and Duncan, Courtney is the one to get the boot. So her biggest storyline, the biggest reason why Courtney was to debut in this season, was to split the powerhouse, which was Duncan and Gwen. But now that her character has served that purpose, and she has kind of exerted her personality, I would have her out in the final 8.
Dang.
Thoughts?
Dude, like, I want to hate it, but I can't. You know? Like, just like the way you go about telling this just makes it feel so real and so like possible, and much better than canon, to be honest. And like it completely makes sense. Like, again, like I'm a big Courtney fan. Regardless of her behavior, I really just enjoy her character. And Action is arguably one of her, not her best seasons, but like she just has a lot of development, good or bad, you know. Again, this is what I mean. I have no idea about any of your opinions, so the fact that I am 0 for 3 and I had two of them in the final 4, says a lot about where our two heads are at. As far as the challenge, I thought it was great. I really do. This is the point I wanted to make. I like how you're giving multiple people immunity. I don't know if they did that in the regular show, but that's something I like because it's not always plausible to just give only one person immunity in some situations. Like more people deserve it sometimes, you know. So I really like that approach that you're taking. It's in my head, I cannot picture this final 7 working in canon, but because it's not canon, like I don't know, just like talk about making your impact like immediately, and then just like leaving because of it. Like 3 episodes, right? Like 3 or 4 episodes she had. That's kind of crazy, but again, it just like it makes sense. She did her thing. Now get her out.
Exactly.
I guess it sets her up for future, but.
Yep, and you'll have to remind me, because in the finale there's something I want to emphasize with Courtney, which sets her up for season 3, which would be like my interpretation of how season 3 would do. And I'm not anticipating to do a podcast rewrite of season 3, unless. Yeah, I'm just not anticipating it. I'm not even gonna put and then less there. That's not something I'm planning on doing. But honestly, like if there was a rewrite, like this kind of sets Courtney up for season 3. So remind me to get to Courtney in the finale, because there are some things I want to say about her. And there's a lot of potential that could have been had, but I feel like you said, this allows Courtney to have her really fast debut. She makes the impact that she needs. She doesn't overshadow Justin, who should have been the antagonist from the beginning. What she does is she creates divergence between these 2 powerhouses that end up in an alliance, and then she becomes her own solo character, where now she's independent. She's a strong, independent woman. But now she can make her mark in season 3. So I'll get into that when we get into the finale. I'll talk a little bit more on that.
Sounds good.
The next episode, I really don't have much written about it. These next episodes are shorter that I have written, just because I felt inspired with the zombie challenge and the slasher challenge and the Brunch of Disgustingness. This one, I'm gonna be more brief, and we're gonna get into these eliminations. So who did you have as a guess for this next eliminated final 7? Who was your
7?
guess?
Who did I have? Let me check. It was DJ.
DJ. You might be close. Okay, so this challenge is the runway modeling challenge. And this is where I would have like Justin kind of step up. He obviously he's a model. He knows what the freak he's doing. Him and Lindsay kind of just dominate this game, and now that the whole Courtney, Duncan, Gwen fiasco is over and done with, we've hit that phase, that dispensation has run its course. We can now focus on Justin manipulating Lindsay a lot more. And Justin and Lindsay are kind of the top 2 finalists here. They're like freaking running this game. And that's how I would play it. Now, in this, I would also have Jeff and Bridget confront Justin about what the heck is going on. Like, why are you splitting us? Like, Jeff may be kind of a dimwit, but he's also like good friends with DJ, so he can discern when something's off with one of his friends. And Bridget's not a dimwit. Bridget's actually very intuitive. And that's why I love making her the final girl of the slasher film. But I would have them confront him, and DJ just kind of open up and be like, they have Bunny. Like, Chef has Bunny. And so Bridget's like, okay, but like, why couldn't you talk to us about this earlier? And DJ's like, I couldn't do it, like Bunny is at risk right now, all right? And so Jeff is like telling Bridget, go compete in the challenge, you stand a chance. And Jeff plays the role of the really supportive boyfriend. Like, they turned him into a complete douchebag in canon. Which I love his redemption in Redonkulous Race, don't get me wrong, but honestly, I just wouldn't have turned him into a douchebag. Like, that just betrays his character. I would have had him play up the, supportive boyfriend a lot more. And it highlights Bridget's character a little bit more. The reason Jeff is here is to kind of be a supporting role to Bridget, because like Bridget has a lot of potential. She has as much potential as I think Trent does. And I think a lot of people think that Trent and Bridget are kind of boring, and that's because they're the most normal characters when it comes to comparing them to real people. So Jeff, his role in this episode is to help DJ get Bunny back. So Bridget and Justin and Trent and Lindsay are basically the only ones actually competing, because Jeff and DJ, like, they skipped the challenge. They're like, no, we're skipping the challenge. So they have their own side plot where they're going off to go retrieve Bunny, which would be a hilarious parody to be like a James Bond movie or like a Jason Bourne movie, like total action sequence to like a feud between those two and Chef. It would be hilarious. And
what's Heather doing this episode?
Oh, Heather's also competing. I can't believe I forgot. Heather's here too. Heather is also here.
Making sure.
Yeah.
What the heck is she doing this season?
She's you know, her whole development is to essentially play the role of what she played in season 1, where she becomes more of a protagonist and opens up to Trent a little bit more, becomes more of a friend to him, and he is her only friend in this season.
Right.
But yeah, that's so. Oh yeah, I do get into Heather a little bit more, but yeah, Heather competes too, but she also she slays it too. Bridget slays it in the challenge as well, but you know, who can overpower Justin? No one. Okay, like no one can overpower Justin. He's got the looks. He's manipulative. He's got this in the bag. But you know, in the end, Justin does win immunity, and Jeff and DJ, they get Bunny back. They get Bunny back. Like, that's important. They get him back, and that's awesome.
Of course.
Yep. But because they chose to not participate in the game, they're disqualified. Now, they were going to eliminate both of them. However, Jeff kind of takes the downfall, and he says, it's my fault, I'll take the blame. So Jeff kind of takes the sword, you know? And he bites the bullet, and Jeff is eliminated in this episode. And so at the ending of the episode, you get this cute little montage where, you know, Bridget, DJ, and Jeff, they're all together. It's really sad. Jeff is getting eliminated. But, sorry, a little bit of noise in the background. But DJ, you know, since he got Bunny back, he gives Bunny to Jeff, so Jeff can take care of Bunny outside of the game.
Oh, so cute.
Yep, so it's a little bit of a cute friendship token right there. And I love that, because those three should be inseparable. We need to protect them at all costs. So yeah, what do you think of that? What are your thoughts on that?
I really loved that episode. I think it's funny because the big three kind of went out back to back, right? So Glenn, Duncan, Courtney, boom, 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 big drama people gone. So, and now you have a cast that's half full of, like you said, these normal people, these boring, normal, you know, but people try to call them, you know?
New word.
Yeah, Noring.
Noring.
And that's why people struggle to try to justify Bridget, Jeff, DJ going far in certain seasons, because like they are just the more normal when compared to the other contestants. So I mean, it's funny because I didn't know if you were going to do that, and that's why I didn't predict that. Clearly you did that, so I mean, my prediction shows that we just think differently. But I really like the idea of just having, like, in between the challenge parts of the episode, you just see Jeff and DJ going, like you said, 007 style, retrieve this bunny.
There could be like one of those cool scenes where they put on the sunglasses too, you know?
Yeah. I love it. And I like the idea that, you know, not every, you know, they can finish the challenge, they can do everything they need to do, and then be like, no voting, you guys didn't play, you're out of here. You know, like they didn't obey the rules, they didn't abide to their contract, so like it totally makes sense. And I kind of like that, and I like that. I thought you were gonna say DJ was the one who's gonna be like, no, it's my fault, I'll leave. But I was surprised that it was Jeff that was the one who did that. Like, it makes sense, like how you were saying, he's in a supporting role, and what else was he gonna do? But I am curious to see how DJ does moving forward because of that.
Yep. And
I wonder if he's gonna feel guilty because of that.
Yeah, like Jeff leaving makes as much of an impact as Gwen leaving, because now Bridget is her own standalone character. which, I mean, they tried to do in World Tour, but they slaughtered her by having her get seduced by Alejandro. And the beauty of this too is like Justin is kind of like, he is a rock star in this season. And what's cool is with season 3, if we were to introduce Alejandro, in my personal opinion, if you did Justin right, you would have no need for Alejandro. But
that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother, yeah. And let's assume that we are bringing Alejandro into season 3. Alejandro is a hybrid between Justin and Heather. So it's like a double threat right there. Like, it raises the stakes. So you see one antagonist to another, to almost like twice the antagonists that both of them were. So that's why I would have...
I like to call Justin a poor man's Alejandro.
I've heard that before, actually, and it's so sad. He had so much potential.
I know.
Well, next episode. Who do you think is going to be eliminated in the next episode?
So we got DJ, Trent, Justin, Bridget, Lindsay, Heather. Okay, it's got to be Heather. I really don't see a way that Heather stays any longer. So that's my guess. Unless you're pulling the Heather goes to the finale card this season.
Ooh.
Then okay, DJ's my next guess.
If Heather was in the finale, who do you think would go against her?
Your whole thing is juxtaposition, so I'm thinking based on who we have left, I still want to say Trent, but I don't know if that fits the whole love letter to season 1, because I'm trying to figure out how that would work. Your brain works in different ways than mine, so I mean, I'll probably love whatever you do. I can't get myself inside your brain right now, so I don't really know. I'm open. I'm ready. I'm like 0 for 5, so let's see it.
Let's do this then. This is the rock and roll challenge. Of course, we know who's gonna dominate this challenge. Like, it's an obvious who's gonna rock. Like, who's gonna rock this one. No pun intended. The contestants are challenged to turn on their inner rock stars. Trent, naturally good at this. No shocker here. And he gains the loudest applause. Justin begins to notice that Heather is catching on to him. So Heather is like, she's starting to kind of scope it out. She's turning into more of a protagonist, and she sees that Justin is manipulating Lindsay. And so she tells Lindsay this. And Lindsay is like not having it with Heather. Just because I wouldn't trust Heather. She manipulated you in season 1. But what's happening to Lindsay right now completely juxtaposes what happened to Lindsay in season 1 just from Heather. And now Heather's in the opposing seat. Heather's in Beth's seat now, essentially. Ew. Yeah, so, how the turntables have turned, you know? And so, you know, Heather's like, come on, Lindsay, like, you know better than this. And Lindsay has shown like some intuitive progression in this season. And so like in the season, she's like, no, I'm not listening to Heather. Like, flip that noise. Like, no way. So since Justin notices that Heather is catching on to him, he hastily gathers DJ and Bridget to get them and Lindsay to evict Heather over a rumor that Heather and Trent secretly have an alliance because they're friends, and they're the only ones that are friends. This leads to Heather's eviction. So you were right. You were correct.
Let's go.
What are your thoughts on that in the end?
I think I'm actually 2 for 2 now, or 2 in a row, because I think I had Jeff or Bridget last episode.
You did?
And I got Heather this one. So, okay. So we're catching some momentum here.
We're narrowing it down, right?
I don't mind it at all. I think it makes a lot of sense. I like the way, again, I really do like how your brain works and how you nitpick the smallest details to bring back. And I'm just like the throwbacks to season 1. Like I'm starting to understand what you mean by a love letter now. You know, you're making a lot of these, like you keep saying, juxtapositions to events that transpired in season 1, and they're happening to somewhat of the same characters, but with maybe another one thrown in. Like instead of Heather, Lindsay, and Beth, it's Justin, Lindsay, and Heather. So I really like that. I really like how Heather tried to do the right thing and she got bedoofed for it. So that was funny. I really for a second thought you were gonna pull a quick one and have Heather make it to the finale, but I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I love Heather being in a finale. I'm not a huge fan of her being in the World Tour finale, and I wouldn't have her in the Action finale either.
Interesting. Why don't you like her in the World Tour finale?
I would have saved her for another finale, a different finale. And
well, there's only All Stars, so it's probably that one.
Yeah, kind of like we'll see. Yeah. But Heather, she's iconic. So I just the thing is, one thing that I noticed is, they continuously built up Duncan and Gwen and Heather and Courtney. And they put a lot of those people in the finale. They put Owen and Gwen in the finale. They put Duncan in the finale, Alejandro and Heather in the finale. So when we hit the All-Star season and all 5 of them were in the All-Star season, it's like, okay, well, none of them are going to make it to the finale anyway, so why do I care how far they make it?
Honestly valid. Yeah.
So it was like when Gwen made it, I think, didn't she make Final 4 or something like that in the All-Star season?
Yeah.
It was like, she's not going to make finale anyways, and she's the only one left from the original cast. So, like, why is she here? And so, like expending these iconic characters so early and putting them in a finale just like completely gyps them from people being able to root for them in future seasons.
That's completely valid.
And thinking
completely
that
fair.
Yeah. And that's why I wouldn't put Heather in the finale of this one or the next one.
That's fair. I honestly think that it's interesting that you chose this season to be the one you rewrite that's going to affect every season afterwards, because I feel like if anyone had to choose one season to rewrite in the series, it would be All Stars. But now this season, this is actually really smart, because this season therefore affects every season afterwards. So yeah, I really like what you're doing, and I'm excited for this final 5.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, the All-Stars would be completely different due to this season. Like,
oh, yeah.
Trent's a huge character now, like he was in season 1. He'd probably be an All-Star. I would not bring Justin back as an All-Star. Sadly, I love him, but yeah. You got Alejandro now.
Fit.
Yeah. Bridget would be an All-Star. Bridget's dope. Jeff would be an All-Star. DJ would be an All-Star. Like, there's a lot of potential for All-Stars here. So, yeah. Now we're in the final 5, though. So, the next theme is superhero, the superhero challenge. Who do you think is going to get the boot in the final 5?
Okay, well, I had Justin, but I don't believe that's the case anymore. I gotta keep this momentum going. Okay, so we have Justin, Trent, DJ, Lindsay, Bridget. Okay, I'm going with DJ.
So the contestants are challenged to be real-life superheroes. Justin gathers the help of Lindsay to win the challenge. So, continuously using Lindsay, and Lindsay is freaking stepping up. It comes to the point where Justin sees Lindsay as like a very valuable asset. And Lindsay is kind of evolving into her own thing. Like, she is intuitive. Like, we're showing signs that she has intelligence. Look, there's intelligence on Mars, guys. Like, wow. But that leaves Lindsay with the lowest score in the end, because she, helped Justin win. However, the elimination is to be chosen by the winner, which is Justin. And Justin sees DJ as the biggest threat, because in the finale, yeah, if the Peanut Gallery votes, DJ's the most popular out of all of them. He analyzes it and he's like, well, Lindsay's been my pawn. Trent has beef against Gwen, Courtney, and Duncan, so good luck with that one. And Bridget, yeah, I can get rid of her. So DJ's the biggest threat. So that's who he chooses to eliminate. Final 5. You got rid of DJ. You're 3 for 3, my friend.
Let's go. That's so funny because I'm looking back at my note and you said, feel as if Trent, Justin, DJ, and Lindsay were botched, and they were for the final 5. So I should have just took that more seriously. And then I would have had a good prediction.
Yeah, I basically just gave it to you, man.
Yeah, except for Bridget, which I knew you liked Bridget to begin with, so that's funny. But yeah, I mean, 5th seems pretty good for DJ. I think makes sense that Justin would target him, you know. And nothing. I like that you're continuing to give this Lindsay development that she definitely deserved to have even explored even more that she got in season 2. I'm excited. I definitely think for some, I didn't get anything right, but the fact that you said I got something right in my early prediction means that I'm pretty sure Trent and Lindsay are the finale. So I'm pretty sure Justin and Bridget are getting somehow 4th or 3rd. Both of them are getting smacked after this. So,
well, let's zoom through these next ones and see if you're right then.
All right.
All right. Next up, we got the Princess Pride, which I know like happens earlier in the season, but I would put it in the final 4. And the final 4 contestants are paired off to compete in the Princess Pride challenge. Justin competes with Lindsay as a pair, and Trent competes with Bridget as a pair, which is kind of,
oh god, if there's a pair going, I'm screwed.
Yep. Well, yeah, we'll see. Justin uses this opportunity to kind of manipulate Trent and Bridget and their feelings right now, because like Trent still has his like pent up feelings for Gwen, and it still stings and it still hurts. Bridget is obviously still in a relationship with Jeff, so that's kind of awkward. And so like Justin just exploits that awkwardness, that little awkward tension, and he causes both of them to lose. Like he's just like, huh, like you guys suck. He just throws shade at them, right? Which makes them insecure, and that's how they lose the challenge. But only one person is going. I'm not going to eliminate a pair. I think double eliminations are kind of lazy. So
okay.
Fair
enough.
Yeah, you know, and people can disagree with me. I'm totally cool with that too. I just feel like it leaves less of an impact when it's like 2 people getting eliminated. So Trent and Bridget are then, you know, poised to compete against each other in a final standoff challenge, which Trent ends up winning, and Bridget is then eliminated, which means Bridget is out in the final 4, which you guessed. You got that one right. You got that one absolutely correct.
So you're going for the antagonist getting 3rd again, I am assuming. Which,
like
honestly...
like I said, it's a love letter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's starting to make more sense. I'm starting to understand the... I don't know if Trent and Gwen have parallel... I mean, I guess the Trent and Gwen parallel and the Lindsay and Owen parallel, because Lindsay and Owen are both, I don't know, aloof and wooded. I don't know if that's the love letter or if it's supposed to be and Owen, Scott McCord, and then, you know, like, I don't know what's going on here.
We are, yeah, we'll get into this real quick, actually.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is great. So in the final 3, you still got the powerhouse. You got Justin and Lindsay. So he's not out of the game. You know, it could be a Justin-Lindsay finale, which would be iconic in its way because, like, Justin had, what, 2 lines in season 1?
Yeah, right.
This is where I'd bring in the murder mystery challenge.
Lindsay goes off in this challenge.
Yeah, dude, she's dope in my rewrite, man. And I think wasn't she dope in the original script too? She's the one who figures it out, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, in canon, she went off this episode. This is probably one of her best episodes.
Oh, well, perfect, because this is definitely her best episode too. So Gwen and Harold are brought back to play as dead bodies. You know,
that's really funny.
Just for fun. The contestants are tasked to figure out who murdered them amongst the non-returning contestants from season 1. Like, and since Gwen is there, like, Trent is like, oh man, like, it just like, it stings, man. It still stings for Trent, right? And so in this moment, I think I would try to have Gwen talk to Trent. Like, even though she's a dead body and she's not supposed to, like, she'd be, like, on the ground, like, Trent, I'm sorry. hey, you're supposed to be quiet. Like type of deal, right? She's like trying to like relay a message that Trent doesn't get, and Trent is just so hyper focused on the challenge, trying to avoid his feelings for Gwen. Like Trent is this close to the finale, man. Like he's molded into his own character, like, and this is just like a huge obstacle for him. A huge obstacle. It sucks, you know? Now, in the end, Justin guesses Cody to be... Oh, by the way, let me also reiterate this. The contestants are tasked to figure out who murdered them amongst the non-returning contestants from season 1. So,
gotcha. So
the non-returning contestants, Cody, Ezekiel, Tyler, Katie, Sadie, Eva, Noah, they're all there. They're there with them. And so they're just kind of like bystanders, right? So Justin guesses Cody. Justin's like, well, Cody's a smart guy. He could have staged the death. Wrong. That's wrong. Sorry, Justin. That's wrong. Trent, you know, like, he's got some pretty significant clues, and he guesses Eva, which is also false.
It's Ezekiel.
Lindsay sees Tyler and begins to realize, you know, since Tyler is there, she begins to realize that she's just been betraying him this entire season. Tyler's just very forgiving. He's very understanding. He's a great guy. We see that in season 3 when Courtney tries flirting with Tyler to make Duncan jealous. But Tyler's like, he's freaking committed to Lindsay. Tyler's awesome. And so Lindsay is reminded at how she was manipulated by Heather in season 1. And pieces this together because, like, throughout the season, she's gaining intelligence. She is showing significant progression. And so as that happens, in this episode, she pieces together that Justin is doing the exact same thing to her that Heather did to her in season 1. So her brain just kicks into overdrive. She comes out on top. She figures out that it was Ezekiel who is the murderer.
Let's go. I'm 4 for 4.
Lindsay is correct.
5 for 5.
Yep. And she is given the final vote to eliminate someone. And so Justin's like, I got this in the bag. Look at that. Like, let's go, Lindsay. We freaking did it, right? Like, Justin thinks he's about to win the game. Started from the bottom. Now we're here, right? But Lindsay, through all of this recollection, through cool flashbacks that we can see, through the reflections of it all, Lindsay eliminates Justin. Let's go, Lindsay! Strong, independent woman right there. That's what I'm talking about. Like, taking out Justin, completely shocks him. He's just, like, appalled. Like, what just happened? Like, the game just, like, went through his hands, like, through his fingers, like sand completely... You know, like, I hate sand. It gets everywhere, you know? Total Anakin Skywalker right there. Anyways, Lindsay ridicules him after she realizes what happens. After being manipulated, she just completely degrades his gameplay, and everyone cheers her on. Justin gets his, you know, justice.
Let's go.
So Justin is eliminated, and you are correct. That juxtaposes Heather's elimination from season 1. Antagonist makes it to final 3. Goner right there. Boom. But it is huge development for Lindsay. Gigantic news.
I loved it.
So yeah. I want to hear more of your thoughts. What else are you thinking right now?
I think the one thing that we were missing from these previous Merge episodes was that true development, at least what you were telling us, from Trent and Lindsay, right? Trent, I'm still, like, trying to piece together, okay, after Gwen, Duncan, Heather, after all them left, what has he done since, right? Like, he's obviously been a very big character. But, like, this obviously gives Lindsay that huge moment that pushes her into, like, front runner, underdog, whatever status. And obviously she deserved that. She's a very good character. She should have been in the finale in action to begin with. We all know that. Love that this is her moment. I love that this moment happens at the final 3. Makes a lot of sense. Love that she's involved in taking down Justin because she wasn't I don't think. And I'm pretty sure it was Courtney, right, in canon, who took down Justin.
Yep.
So all just makes sense. Very poetic. How she was, eliminated through Heather season 1, and then gets to eliminate her season 2 counterpart. Love that. My thing is now just trying to figure out, okay, what has Trent been redeemed these past couple episodes? Like, what has he really been up to? Like, I don't know if I'm just forgetting things you've said in the last couple episodes, or I'm just like, what is Trent doing right now?
Yeah.
Besides the whole Gwen thing.
You look at Lashana and what she did in season 1. She was a powerhouse. She won so many different challenges, but she also said it how it was, right? And that's why people love Lashana. With Trent, he also kind of is a powerhouse. He won the slasher episode. He won the rock and roll episode. He's been winning challenges left and right. He was a team captain also, but he was also the nice guy archetype, where he helped Heather realize her potential in the end, and helped her kind of grow beyond, this selfish, terrible individual. And so Trent did play kind of a pivotal role in helping other people progress, but he also evolved into his own character, where he's now winning his own challenges, and he's showing that the nice guy can win in the end. So the beautiful story of Trent is nice guys don't always finish last.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. So let's go with the nice
really
guys.
Good,
yep.
But if I was to get anything right in my prediction, I'm glad it was the finale.
You freaking nailed the finale, man. You nailed it. And like, Trent is not in the finale because he's like one of my favorites. He's in the finale for this beautiful moment. Obviously, we got the final 2. We got Trent versus Lindsay. I thought the final 2 challenge in action was really cliche, where they just had to kind of like repeat all of the challenges. I liked the triathlon, or not the triathlon, the marathon that they did in season 1. And I almost would have, like, maybe bring them back to Total Drama Island, where it's a parody on reality television. The finale is just a parody on reality TV. And they're parodying season 1, and now they're on the island.
That's funny. Yeah, I like that.
And so they bring everybody back, and it's a very similar ending to season 1. But if you think about it, Lindsay, being the dumb blonde who kind of comes out to be her own, but she's kind of a comedic character, she juxtaposes the female version of Owen. Whereas Trent, the normal guy, the nice guy, the kind of a little bit of a powerhouse who was in a relationship with Gwen, now juxtaposes Gwen in the end right now.
Makes sense.
So either contestant could win. The season shows, it showcases a lot of growth on both characters. Yeah. But Lindsay, in my personal opinion, I think Lindsay would make a better winner, with Trent being final 2. And that would also juxtapose Trent, and Gwen's position, where Gwen kind of gets final 2, except for in the alternate ending. So obviously there would be an alternate ending. But here's something that I would have as a beautiful, beautiful round circle from season 1. And this one, like, in my opinion, it would bring a tear to my eye to see this. And honestly, if they do future seasons where Trent comes back, I still think this right here needs to happen. Gwen wants to reestablish a friendship with Trent. Obviously, throughout the season, like, things got awkward. And as we saw in the last episode, Trent was trying to relay a message and trying to like make amends, and it just was not working for her. And kind of how in season 1, the whole Heather-Trent fiasco went down, and Trent had to show his loyalty to Gwen by carrying that boulder alongside her as she was running in the finale.
Right.
I would have Gwen carry that boulder in the finale. Try to win back Trent, you know what I mean? As a friend, not in a relationship. Because I do like the Gwen and Duncan relationship. I do think that they fit together. Like the Gwunkin fans, like, yeah, like, I'm all for it. Go for it, guys. Turn Courtney and Trent into their own characters where they don't need a relationship anymore. They're gonna become their own.
I like that, yeah.
But the beautiful thing of like Gwen carrying that boulder aside right next to Trent as he's competing, and then in the end they make amends and they become really tight friends. I think that is just such a beautiful conclusion to that love square. In the ending, Courtney becomes her own person. In the ending, Trent becomes his own person. In the ending, Gwen and Duncan end up in a relationship, so they're happy. But they all make amends in the end. So
hold on, I'm getting some tissues.
Yeah, just be sure to blow your nose, wipe those tears.
I gotta wipe these tears from my eyes. No, but for real, that is very symbolic. I like that a lot.
Yep. And then Lindsay wins. Lindsay wins, you know, the airheaded blonde.
Yeah. Just after all that cute stuff, this dumb blonde just takes the money from everybody.
Yep. Exactly. You know, she conquered her demons. She progressed. She became her own thing. The thing that eliminated her in season 1. You know, she grew from. She learned from it. And she eliminated her opponent. In the end, what's interesting is if you look at it, she is responsible for Heather's elimination in season 1, and now she's responsible for Justin's elimination in season 2, because Heather's dare came from Lindsay.
Right.
And
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So there's just so many parallels. But if you think about it, like everyone wins. Trent, Gwen, become friends. Trent, Gwen, relationship. Courtney becomes her own character. Justin recognizes his faults, realizes that as an antagonist, nobody likes that, you know, so, you know, he has to turn into more of a nice guy archetype. And if I was to ever bring Justin back, I would turn him into a antagonist turned protagonist underdog type deal. But, you know, we're never going to see Justin again, I don't think. Lindsay showcases positive intuition and is no longer going to be manipulated. Heather gains respect for Lindsay and herself and Beth. Beth and Lindsay...
Not Beth.
Well, Beth is the one who called it out from the beginning, so...
I know, but we don't like Beth here.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Beth either. That's why she was an early boot, but...
I'd love to see it.
Beth and Lindsay rekindle a friendship, so they're still friends, but they're not like Katie and Sadie extreme, you know? And literally everyone in this season has growth, gratitude, and happiness. Like, think about it. Jeff, Bridget, and DJ couldn't be closer. DJ gets Bunny, Harold, and Lashana. They are built up to be in season 3, you know? Like,
I was just thinking that, yeah. And
to powerhouse themselves. Owen is just content with life as he always is, and he's happy to see his friends win. Like, and Izzy, you know, she's just crazy. So every single person basically gets that redemption in the end, and that's exactly why I think it's a love note. And in my personal opinion, I think season 3 should have been a brand new cast. I think season 3 should have been 24 new contestants or 22 new contestants, and we shouldn't have had a return of anyone. I mean...
That's a hot take.
It is a hot take. It is a hot take. I just think this is just such a good wrap-up for everyone. Like, you can bring in Alejandro and Sierra for the first time with the 22 contestants, but... Yeah, hot take. I would have had a completely different cast for season 3, completely different cast for season 4, and then an all-star season for season 5.
It's so hard because this is obviously, it's a parody of reality TV, right? But it's scripted. It's a cartoon. So, like, if you want people to follow along, you need those iconic characters, like for kids, that is, right?
Yep.
So that I'm sure it's the reason why I brought them back so many times, and why they were so hesitant to do new casts, like Revenge and Pakatu and everything. So I totally agree. I totally understand. Like, we should get new casts more often, but they did set this weird precedent where we're stuck with this first original cast for so many seasons, and so many of them are still screwed up that we want to see them get redeemed in some way. I do think you're right, like in the sense that like 2 seasons could have been perfect, plenty to give them all everything they needed, and then you move on. But yeah, I mean, I haven't heard that take, but that's honestly plausible.
Yep. And like you still can bring back some of like season 1 contestants to be like interns. As a matter of fact, I think it'd be hilarious to see them as interns. But yeah, definitely that's the conclusion of my rewrite of Total Drama
What did you want for Courtney in the finale? You said to remind you to bring something up about her.
Yes, so I would Courtney's entire development here is you know, like Heather, you see Heather and how she was the antagonist in season 1, and she kind of learned that being the antagonist got her bad attention, and that wrecked her in the end, and it really hit her insecurity. And with Courtney, I mean, she could care less what other people think, but she lost her boyfriend along the road. There was a casualty in her formula, in her strategy. And so I would, if we were to bring back cast members into a season 3, the same ones, I would build Courtney up to be her own character in season 3, but to recognize that, you know, like, it's good to be ambitious, but at the same time, to be as aggressive as she was is not necessarily what's going to get her what she wants in the end. And so that's kind of the lesson that she learns in the end. So that's all I wanted to bring up with Courtney.
Yeah, I like it. I dig it.
Yeah. My opinion, final 2 of season 3 is completely different than the final 2 that they had in season 3 as well. But yeah, we're probably not ever going to get into that. So I'll tell you behind the camera. I'll tell you off screen if that's what you want to know.
Yeah, I'm interested. Sure.
But yeah, so overall thoughts, season 1 as amalgamation and a self-proclaimed love note to season 1, sorry, season 2 to season 1. Do you think it played that role?
Yeah, absolutely. Far more than I was expecting, I think. Not that I doubted your writing capabilities, but just I was kind of trying to figure out, because pre-merge happened so fast in your first podcast, so I was thinking, okay, so in merge, what are we going to get here? What's going to happen? And ultimately, I think all the callbacks you had, all of the small little details that so many people could miss, but that's besides the point. Like, as long as you know you did it, as long as some people pick up on it, you know, like, that's what counts. So many things that would have definitely went over my head, but I just love that you incorporated, really helped to sell it as I would have loved this season. I'm telling you right now, definitely probably would have been my favorite season.
Oh snap, favorite frick, okay.
Well, out of the first 2, you know?
Yeah.
Because we don't know what happens afterwards, but
yep.
I'm telling you right out the gate, I think, because we never talked about your pre-merge, you and me, so just real quick, love Izzy as a first boot. I think she is always had that first boot potential. Obviously, we all know I hate Beth, so that's good for me. I was very shocked with Lashana and Harold, but as the season progressed, you're like, Lashana and Harold who? You know? Like, it's just like, who doesn't even matter at this point, so they can get season 3, whatever. Then Owen, of course, had his run already, so Owen just, you love Owen regardless, so. Overall, elimination order, pretty good. I'm just happy I got the final 2 right. Really good, loved it a lot.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. And yeah, like, it's just, I think this would have been fun. This would have been fun to watch, but, you know.
Hey, anything's better than Beth in the finale, that's all I'm saying.
She does not belong in that finale. But you know, with the throwbacks, I think that's one thing, and this is a trigger word for a lot of people, but that's one thing I think Reunion did right, was they had a lot of callbacks and they had a lot of throwbacks, and I think that Fresh TV could take some pointers from that, even though, you know, they didn't want Reunion up, like, they can still learn from that. And
nostalgia is powerful. It's very powerful.
It really is. You know, honestly, to cater to that would just be huge for your diehard fans, you know, who have been waiting for years for a new season. And so, I mean, I'm gonna watch the new season. I don't have high expectations for it, but I'm going to watch it with the hopes that it succeeds my expectations. I just wasn't really. Absolutely. I wasn't impressed with anything that came after Island, and I that's another hot take. You know, I know a lot of people love total drama action, but as you know, my rewrite is completely different. And World Tour was okay, But everything after that, I didn't like. It just seemed like they decided that they were just going to destroy some characters who had good potential, and you know that goes for Pahkitew Island. It goes for Revenge of the Island. And when I say Pahkitew Island, with what characters they kind of had that were good. But it also goes for All Stars, and All Stars could have been this huge monumental thing that could have been built up, but it just, I think they started the derailment in season 2. So,
hey, I'll tell you what, I don't disagree. I think the further away I get from having my childish opinions on the show, and the more I grow as a person, and the more I reflect on these seasons and my, existence in the fandom, Island really was the pinnacle season. It really was everything we were ever going to get from the show. The only reason why I like World Tour even the slightest, honestly, half of it's probably music bias. I just love songs. I love musicals. I'm like, heck yeah, give me these songs. There were some good parts about World Tour. I, for one, am a big fan of the finale. I know you're not, but I do.
Oh, I like it. I love the finale, actually. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Good to know. But yeah, I don't disagree with you saying that after Island, it kind of went downhill. Action's a very hit or miss season. The decision to go with a new cast was very hit or miss. Obviously, we all know our All Stars was, for lack of a better word, horrible. And then Pahkitew, whatever it is, it's bad. So, I mean, I don't disagree with you there, but I love your rewrite. I mean, if that's how the series was going to go, then I think this series would have had a different reputation for sure.
Well, thanks. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining me today, dude. For those
having me on.
Yeah, of course, dude. It's a privilege. For those of you who don't know Cove, which I'm assuming most of you do, because if you're watching this video, you're in the Total Drama community, and Cove is very prevalent there. I encourage you to go subscribe to his channel. Do you want to plug yourself a little bit, Mr. Cove?
I'll give myself like 10 seconds. Yeah, my YouTube is Total Drama Next Generation. I've made 6 seasons of my own fan-made cast series, whatever. All in PowerPoint style, so don't get your hopes up. But a lot of passion, a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of money put into that. So it's definitely one of the things I'm most proud of. So if you want to check it out, go for it.
Well, I can relate to you in the way of making seasons. And for those of you who don't know, we're also working on a season called The Mysteries of Kruger Mansion over on Blue Productions. So I encourage you to go check out those trailers if you haven't seen them just yet. It follows a very similar elimination order that Total Drama does, but it has more of a storyline and more mystery added to it. Honestly, Cove, I think you'd be a great story developer on Mysteries of Kruger Mansion, so maybe we can get you in collaboration with us in the future.
That'd be sick, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you joining with me, and thank you all for watching this video. Honestly, it's a privilege to be on this podcast and to make this video for you guys and to share my opinion and perspectives. Like I said, it is just an opinion, and if you have other opinions, don't hesitate to put that in the comment section below. But like I said earlier, don't hesitate to subscribe to Cove and to Blue Productions, and if you really want to see more podcasts, you can subscribe to me too. Anywho, that's all I have to say. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a splendid week. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.